Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to the Den of the Drake. Other dragons hoard gold while I hoard internet cringe. If you've ever tried to ditch your DM's DMPC only for them to keep magically appearing like a demonic version of the Cat in the Hat, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Did you guys know there are D&D themed bars? I had no idea, and every fiber of my being wants to go to one now. I can imagine it now. Rolling dice with strangers and pounding old fashions until the bouncer asks me to leave because my incoherent sobbing along the lines of, "Oh God, why did she leave me? We could have had a life together, but now I read bullshit from Reddit for money," starts to make things awkward for the other patrons. Anyway, it sounds like good wholesome fun. But as we know, when something gets popular in the nerd community like a rash that won't go away, you know that those neckbeards are gonna show up to gatekeep it. The story I have for you today stars a player who was lucky enough to find a D&D themed bar, only for the bar's resident neckbeard mafia to put a price on his head. Now, without any further delay, let's go ahead and dive right into the horrifying world of r/RPG-Horrorstories. Enjoy. This week's story comes from Reddit user Soter Demoter, and it's titled D&D Turf War at Our Local Bar. I live in Chicago. We have a bar for just about any walk of life here in this big city of Midwestern values. My walk of life mostly incorporates TTRPGs, heavy metal, cold lagers, and cheese curds. So when I stumbled across a bar that specializes in all the above, I instantly fell in love. The space is truly exceptional. They have a large but relatively private game room separated from the bar by a long hallway. Brutalist fantasy decor, vintage video games, great music, cheap lagers with a food specialization in donor bowls and poutine. The first time I stumbled across this place, I noticed the game room and a handcrafted beholder beer bong hanging from the ceiling. I asked the bartender if they have D&D games I could attend as a player or as a DM. They directed me to a Facebook group where they organize their events. This group has been meeting every Wednesday at 7:30. So I dusted off the old Facebook app and started drafting a post. Hey, new to this community. I am an experienced DM and I am looking to run a D&D 5e one-shot on 3 weeks from next Wednesday at the bar. The one-shot is designed to incorporate a tarot card reading, and the party goes on a journey that fulfills the fortune of the cards. Let me know if you're interested. The post got a lot of likes and comments from interested players, but after a few hours, I received a comment from the admin. Let's call him Gob. "Sorry to burst your bubble, but this group is for already organized games hosted by myself and other DM. We have the back room reserved and usually fill up all available seats we can without too much noise pollution / overcrowding. We have been staying away from 5e after running in at the bar for 4-ish years, and have moved up to DCC, Dungeon Crawl Classics. DCC, in my opinion, is far more suited for the bar game, and it's a lot easier to learn for newcomers, as well as much less toxic in the community, company, and also the inability to power game is a big plus from the system. AKA, get that 5e shit out of here, please. Lol. No, I'm kidding, but for reals, no thanks. Now, if you would like to talk to the bar and schedule another day, or maybe play in front separate, you're more than welcome. Alternatively, you could just join us on Wednesday and check out what we do before starting a whole new thing." The post was locked and comments were turned off after that. A little off-putting, condescending, and judgmental, but whatever, it's just a Facebook post. A few days go by and I decide to join them the following Wednesday. When I get to the table, the vibe is cold. Gob doesn't really engage me when I tried to make some pre-game small talk. I tried asking him questions about DCC, a system I was unfamiliar with, and they just tossed a book at me and said, "Look it up." I spent the rest of the pregame reading about my class, looking up basic rules, and trying to figure out the best way to stay alive in such a meat grinder system. Everything but my class got randomly generated. The background I got was farmer, so I had a pet pig with me. I named her Tulip, and made my character very much love this pig like a child. The DM then started calling me Pig F***a, and the party started chiming in. Whatever, although mean-spirited, it was still pretty funny. I decided to just roll it into my character interactions. This dwarf named Ingot being all too familiar with other dwarves not understanding the innocent bond he has with his sweet Tulip. Just like his dad forcing him to be a minor, not understanding his passion for raising these wonderful creatures. As the game went on, Tulip was used to good effect, scouting ahead, creating distractions, and generally being an asset to the party. We got to a point where we saw a cliff face. Nothing but a rope attached to a broken lift. Ingot, my dwarf, volunteered to go scout ahead by rappelling down the rope. Before he left, he said, "If anything happens to me down there, be sure you take care of Tulip for me." They responded with apathy about the pig. As Ingot starts descending, he sees a pink burl careening towards him. It was Tulip. He dropped his longsword to free up an arm and attempt to catch the pig. The roll failed, and Tulip fell to her death. The party had tossed the pig off the edge for no reason other than to be a dick. Now, I don't like to get upset about things that happen in an imaginary world, but I couldn't help feel like this was an attack on me, the player. It was pointless, and it was very mean. Narratively, it left me no choice but to retaliate. This is not something that Ingot would just ignore and shrug off. Ingot starts climbing back up with an intensity behind his eyes that burns hotter than his compassion for his blessed Tulip. Ingot was level 1. Most of the party was level 3+, and the culprit behind the slaughter was a wizard. I did not know much about the game, but what I did know is that at level 1 I can choose a shove ability. On a successful roll, it moves any creature 10 feet in a chosen direction. The wizard just so happened to be standing on a cliff face. The sound of the pig's corpse slamming against the cold hard floor had woken up what seemed to be a massive insect. Ingot did not care. He was tunnel visioned. He needed to avenge his pig. Ingot reaches the top of the cliff face with the insect hot on his tail. He begins to shove the wizard towards the cliff. A success, but still 5 feet to go. The wizard casts darkness. Now I wish I could tell you that this ends in Ingot trifling with a level 4 wizard to avenge his poor Tulip. The wizard casts a calming spell on me, since if I were to keep shoving him, we would TPK, and some people have characters that they have been working on for months. So I decided to go out of my character and back off, at least until we kill this big bug. After we kill the bug, the calm spell is used again. The only way forward was down that cliffside. I was pretty checked out at this point, so both Ingot and I were pretty absent from the following roleplay. The wizard decides to make his way down the rope. Another player seemed to empathize with me. It was pretty apparent that all my fun had gotten taken away. She found an opportunity to kill the wizard and took it. She cut the rope that the wizard was descending down. The session kind of ended soon after that, since the player was pretty upset. I realized that this group was not for me, so I decided to take Gob's advice and started my own D&D night for Tuesdays. I asked Gob if I could post on his Facebook page in a private message, and he responded, DM, "Please make another group. I reserve that group for Wednesday events. Sorry." Me, damn, very unchill. I guess I'll do that then. DM, unnecessary, dude. Gatekeeping. Gatekeeping and the elitist neckbeards go together like Australians and ground harnesses. I will concede that a smidge of gatekeeping is necessary to preserve the values of a hobby. I'm looking at you, furries. It's time to take off the cat ears and start bullying people. However, gatekeeping by its very nature can be pretty unhealthy towards the longevity of a hobby. If I were to only share my enthusiasm about Warhammer 40k with people who I thought deserved it, then I would never get to play 40k. Okay, maybe that's a bad example because I've yet to actually play a game of Warhammer, because so many people who play the game are terrible people, but you get my point. Overall, it's in a community's best interest to cultivate a steady growth of new members, because the passage of time waits for no man. And when the last D20 is rolled on the deathbed of an ancient and wise gamer, know that the reason that D&D died is because the neckbeards couldn't handle the normies having fun. We like to obsess over the things that make us different. So on the rare case where we get someone who is going out of their way to learn about something that you have a genuine interest in, that experience really reminds you what life is all about, which is forming connections with other people. In this scenario, you have been given an opportunity to open up another person's mind to a whole new world for them just to enjoy, and you get to be their first exposure to it. Or you can just euthanize their animal companion like you're doing your best impression of a PETA employee. Your call. I spun up some ads, started a Discord server, and began promoting the games in the server on various Facebook groups, for local D&D meetups as well as on neighborhood pages. I got a lot of interest and started getting more players. Even some people who had tried the Wednesday night group and had had bad experiences with them had showed up. Our first night, we had a turnout of about 10. It was a big success. After a few weeks of running my games, I reached out to Gob and asked him if he wanted to join my server, so he could have a space to promote his games to my audience. After all, a rising tide floats all ships. He joined, and I created a space for him to talk about his DCC games. I asked him to come by and play in one of my games, and he declined. We have been growing so much that I needed a second DM to host a second table. I asked Gob if he would like to lend a hand, and he declined again. I gave the responsibility to a former Wednesday night player. We can call him James. Oddly enough, Gob started showing up and playing in his games. Every once in a while, we did a special night where instead of one-shots, we do a continuing storyline of some 5e adventures in Ravenloft, DM'd by James. In this campaign, I played a war cleric with great weapon fighter, basically a different kind of paladin, with more of a focus on mixing martial, ranged spell attacks, status magic, and of course, powerful healing. His whole shtick was that his church was basically an MLM. People generally got a laugh out of it. Gob, on the other hand, did not. He constantly criticized me for not playing my character like a cleric. How I should be saving my spell slots for buffs instead of using Guiding Bolt. He decided to ridicule me after the game on my Discord server. I clapped back a few times and just let it be. It's all just imaginary shit. At this point, I have been running games at the bar on Tuesdays for about 10 months. Stranger Things Season 4 had just came out, and we had seen a massive boom in new players. We went from around 2 tables of 4 players to 2 tables of 7 or 8. It got me thinking. I have enough players now to get some shirts printed up and get them all at cost. As soon as I announce the shirts, Gob announces that he will also be printing shirts. I am just thinking, man, wouldn't it be nice if we could just have one big order instead of being petty? Lol, it would be cheaper for everyone if we could just order with a larger volume. We could also chip in on a professional illustrator and get something really iconic. I posted a video I made on his Facebook group to show off my portable DM kit I use. It's a nice little black case with encounter cards in it, a nice compartment for dice, minis, and spell radius tiles. I was pretty proud of how it turned out, so I was excited to share it. He quickly deleted my post and said, "Do you use this for your Tuesday night games? Oh, this group is for Wednesday. Tisk, tisk, tisk." He then suspended me from his Facebook group. And then he made his own server and at everyone the link before leaving my server. Only about 4 of my players joined, including me. He shortly banned me from his server as well. I never made a single post there. Not sure what I did to piss the guy off so much, but live and let live. I'm not gonna meet his pettiness with more pettiness. I'm just gonna do my shit, and I'm sure it will continue to be successful. In less than 1 year, I've grown to a level it took him 5 years to achieve. Although this shit is not a competition, the only win here is to make sure the players have a good time, as well as making sure the bar gets some new customers. It would be really nice if we could have a cooperative relationship, and honestly, I don't hate the guy. I am sure if he is not trying so hard not to like me, we could probably be friends. We clearly have a lot in common. It's unfortunate that things are where they are, and I don't see a lot of things changing from his perspective. On multiple occasions, I have asked him to grab a beer sometime so we can talk some of these conflicts out. He has turned me down every time. Also, still never have been able to get my one-shot tarot card games. End of story. Dude, hats off to OP for still extending the olive branch for so long after this guy made it glaringly obvious that he wants nothing to do with him. But I guess when you got a watering hole like this, it pays to be friends with the lions. Actually, considering the neckbeard stereotype, I guess hippos would be a more appropriate animal here. Looking past all the neckbeardy shenanigans, this place sounds frickin' rad. Can we just start building more D&D bars everywhere, please? It really is the perfect business model. All these socially awkward nerds can go from rolling D20s at one point to failing to pick up women the next. It's the nerd community's two favorite pastimes rolled into one. But seriously though, the only thing missing is a shooting range, and if it had that, I would gladly live out the rest of my life living under the tables, subsisting purely on the shitty peanuts left in the ashtrays. And on that note, let's go ahead and take a look at this week's Gallery of the Drake. This week's fan art comes from viewer Domination of Procrastination and depicts an average day for the Drake and his little kobold employee. Oh, I know, let's go to the IRS building. I need a raise. I mean, sure, I don't pay taxes because all my assets are in the market and the tank was a business write-off, but as a matter of principle, the IRS can suck my... Thank you again, Domination of Procrastination, for submitting your art. If you'd like to see your fan art featured in Gallery of the Drake, be sure to send it to the email in my About section. Fan art is my favorite part of doing YouTube, and it means the world to me that I can make content that inspires artists like you to create artwork like this. With the story over and artwork displayed, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you feel like supporting the channel further, my Patreon and merchandise links are in the description. I would like to thank you all for listening, and I hope to see you next time in the Den of the Drake.